welcome to the next episode of Fan Battle Cast. Today we have a delightful matchup with two sometimes pink little blobs, Kirby and Ditto. I am Lockdown06, and I will be debating for the pink puffball. Today I am joined by Saul,
Hi, Saul here, research lead, director, and writer of Nebula Theatre, and I will be one of the odd jury members.
Comic Cannon,
Hello. I'll be jury member as well today.
and Kino, this matchup's beautiful pitcher.
Hi everyone, and yes, I'm pitching this to the Death Battle team, and I am going to be representing Ditto today.
Yes. Now, before we begin, is there anything you want to talk about with the pitch, Kino?
I mean, so part of the reason why I've decided to pitch this is obviously that it's kind of, it's not maybe not common knowledge, but basically it is confirmed that this was originally going to be an episode that the Death Battle team were working on, but then they switched it out for Kirby Boo because they realized how strong Kirby is. But obviously Ditto, thanks to Pokopia, is a lot more relevant than it's ever been before. And I do think that people sleep on Ditto. I think that Ditto has more than what people might realize. And I just want to see these cute little squishy abominations fight it out.
Valid. And that's why I'm here, because I want to see which squishy little abomination makes it out alive. Now, since you are the pitcher, what are you thinking we want to start with?
Probably 60 seconds, right?
Oh, of course. Yes.
We haven't introduced these characters.
That's true. That's very true. That's on me. This is my
Apparently-
first time for those people who aren't aware. Allow me to
Oh,
grab...
apparently the stream is lagging.
Oh dear. That's probably a problem. Let me see... I can't do anything with that right now. Damn. It doesn't seem too bad from what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Well, we'll just roll with it. I mean, this is more of an audio based
Yeah, let me just...
show anyway, so I mean, if it's lagging visually.
Okay, hold on. Let me just find the video. Yep, there's the 60 seconds. Okay. Well, since Kirby is the first in the title, I guess I will go first. Alright. Kirby of the Stars, the pink puffball, the God Slayer. This little creature of undeterminate age has been fighting across the cosmos for who knows how long. He is able to adapt to his environment in the very unique way of eating people to gain their abilities. And this little pink puffball is going against someone who happens to do that without the eating. And in a way, I think I, Kirby, will have the advantage. Not only do I go interstellar distances, not only have I fought the galaxy's greatest warriors, such as Galactonite and Meta Knight, but I've also fought a variety of foes with a variety of abilities at my disposal. Everything from fire, to plasma, to electricity, to everything. Alright. Also, I should have deferred this over. So that's on me. So now you get the center stage, Hino.
Thank you.
You just tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. All right, so Ditto is it's kind of like a failed... The Ditto species are essentially like failed experiments at replicating Mew. They're essentially like beta Mewtwo, if you think of it like that. And they have the ability to turn into any Pokemon. And I want you to really think for a second just how crazy that actually could make Ditto. Any Pokemon. It's insane what Ditto can do. I genuinely don't think people are ready for how this is going to go. And yeah, Ditto can not only turn into things that can take down cosmic entities, Ditto itself can turn into the cosmic entities. But we'll get more into that later.
Okay. Also, they're saying that I'm a little quiet. I can try doing something with my mic. So I apologize for that. I'll just do this. And maybe that'll help. But anywho, now, what is it that you are thinking that we should start with? Are we thinking strength, speed, abilities?
I think abilities will be the majority thing, right? So
Yeah, I
feel
think
like-
abilities is very important here.
I feel like starting with the abilities, especially because it makes it, sometimes when you start with stats, it can paint too much of a clear-cut picture.
Okay. Alright. Then I shall start. Kirby is kind of the jack of all trades when it comes to abilities. I will fully admit I didn't grab scans for the specific copy abilities, but that's because I was going to reference the wiki when it came to that. And I figured throwing a bunch of stuff up wouldn't really be helpful. So as mentioned previously, there's fire, there's plasma, there's electricity. And these abilities all somewhat replicate the enemies that Kirby is able to inhale, with his inhale being his most notable ability. The inhale is able to suck in opponents and either keep them trapped or trap them and take their abilities. Additionally, he can enhance his suck by putting forth more effort, along with some other powers that I will get to later. He can, with these copy abilities, do a variety of things. One of which I'll save for later just to be safe. But most of them are basic elements, turning into rocks, animals, ice, doing mirror tricks, being a clown. Those sorts of fun things. And beyond that, he also, so I can bring up a scan for this, can summon forth the Warp Star. And I figured this was the funniest image to show that with. The Warp Star will be important for when we get into stats, but it's basically Kirby's go-to ride. It's a little star that allows him to fly and travel through dimensions.
Okay.
And it is rather fast, as I will get to in a moment. But yeah, I love the little phone from Crystal Shard because it's fun. Yeah.
Right.
As far as what else Kirby has, a lot of it is just inherent with his copy abilities. Like, he's a skilled combatant, being able to contend with people like Meta Knight, who has had an unclear amount of experience, but is able to take down the galaxy's deadliest warrior, Galactonite, who was brought forth from time and space by the robot boss from Robobot, who tried to take down Meta Knight, and Meta Knight still held his own.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so something I want to get off the bat is there is a common misconception that Ditto can only transform into something that it is directly looking at. However, there are multiple instances where this is not the case. I understand the stream is lagging a little bit, but I have some GIFs for this. So, Lockdown, can you put up Transform 1?
Of course, allow me to load them because I didn't do that before, and I apologize. I forgot about that. But I will. Oh, I guess I could just throw them in.
Mhm.
Allow me to throw in Transform 1. That's a Dragonite.
Is it up? I can't see it yet.
Oh, apologies. I guess it loads faster for me.
Mhm.
Well, basically, while we're waiting for it to load, so Pokopia is obviously the latest thing that Ditto is. Well, basically, it's the reason why Ditto has a bit of a name for itself at the moment. And Pokopia is just on top of the other examples I will give, just one of the many examples that show that Ditto can transform into a Pokemon without needing it to be present. So in the GIF, when it is here, basically it just shows a Ditto jumping off a cliff and then just turning into a Dragonite to fly around.
Ah.
So just to give you,
Oh, there we
here we
go.
go.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And as you can see, no Dragonite in sight.
Ah.
Cool.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then can we move on to Transform 2? We might have to, might be a little bit of waiting.
Of course, of course. Let me grab it. Transform 2.
Basically, this one, I'll explain it again just so that when, yeah. Basically, this one shows footage from the Detective Pikachu movie, because I don't know if anyone saw that film.
Oh, yes.
But in it, there is a Ditto, which is actually one of the henchmen for the big bad of the film. And this Ditto showcases quite clearly that it can just turn into anything at the drop of a hat, doesn't need to be present at all. And it also shows like how quickly it can transform between these.
Oh.
So this is what you will see when it's loaded.
Yeah, this one's a little bigger, it seems.
Yeah. I hope the GIFs aren't lagging as well for the chat.
Seems like it's running okay, but I haven't seen a section with the GIFs yet.
Mhm.
But everyone is saying that it's lagging pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah, that's what happens with GIFs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, basically this one does showcase quite clearly the fact that Ditto can transform. And there is a third GIF that I'm not just for the for getting things moving along. I'm not going to show that one, but basically it's from Pokemon Rangers Signs of Guardians or Guardians of Signs, the third one. Basically there is a Ditto boss fight where it switches between the three legendary beasts. So that's Entei, Raikou, and Suicune.
Yeah.
Yes, I can vouch for that.
And then there is also another example. There's also examples in the Pokemon Adventures manga where Green has a Ditto and has been able to transform again into a Pokemon. Ah, here we go.
Yep, there it goes. Yeah, fun fact, because the audience is seeing my POV, they get to see the GIFs as you're explaining them.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. But yeah, so you could see this the whole time about me.
Well, there is a loading bar over it, but they could see it.
Okay. But yes, so I think that's four different cases of examples in canon media, official media from the company that showcases the fact that Ditto can in fact transform into different Pokemon without needing them to be present, which essentially for this allows Ditto to be John Pokemon for this battle. And this is where, this is what I mean when I say that Ditto is kind of crazy. Because if it can turn into any Pokemon, that means it gets any of those Pokemon's abilities and their movesets. Do you understand how crazy that is?
That is insane.
I don't want to give everything away right now, but just a few things like so say if Ditto is about to take a really powerful hit that's about to knock it out, Sturdy, it gets to live, or it can use Endure and live. It can then use Endeavor to put to pick Kirby in the exact same position as it. It can use Heal Block to stop Kirby from being able to heal. And there's a few other moves and abilities that I want to bring up, but as I said, I want to save them for later.
I see. Okay.
Mhm.
We'll get this guy off the screen.
But another thing, in terms of, because obviously, Lockdown, you mentioned that Kirby can utilize a lot of different elements and stuff. So if Kirby is throwing like a fire move at Ditto, what's to stop Ditto from turning into a Pokemon like Heatran, where it has Flash Fire? And then it just not only absorbs the fire, but gets powered up from it.
Well, you could argue the same thing for Kirby. Maybe not necessarily like amped, but he could just take the attack right back.
See, this is one of the things I wanted to say. So, some interesting Pokemon moves. Embargo and Magic Room both prevent the use of items. Now, so in order to draw on them, Kirby would have to essentially absorb those items. And in Pokemon, like this also means that Pokemon can't eat berries or stuff, for example. There is also, if you were to consider it, okay, well, maybe it's not items, but maybe it's like, because it's copy abilities. There's moves like Gastro Acid, which basically nullify an opponent's ability.
Okay, but what is an ability for Kirby? Because, like, an ability in Pokemon is different than an ability in most other contexts. Because Kirby has had his ability to copy taken before, and he was just fine.
Mhm.
Such as in Milky Way Wishes, which is what gives him access to his copy abilities at all times.
So how does he access them?
He just can. He was able to go to these pedestals within Milky Way Wishes and just gain permanent access to these abilities within that subgame.
But so is he like grabbing something in order to do that, or
He had grabbed, as in he has it in his possession currently, and is able to activate those abilities at any time. As of current, like, that's not relevant, but within Milky Way Wishes, with those, he was able to access his abilities without the need to, say, absorb an enemy or an attack.
okay, would those be like something he's holding then, like an item?
It would be in him, kind of like the Bubbles and Squeak Squad, but like way more.
Okay. Fair. I mean, so if we're going into items, like, so Pokopia is something that gave Ditto like items that it actually does hold, as opposed to like, you know, oh, a trainer gave it this item or whatever. Because in Pokopia there are lost relics that you gain the ability to have them restored to their former glory, and you can carry these around. And if if Ditto is like doing attacks while holding these, it will get the buff of these different things. Just to go through a few of them, there's a bunch of items in the Pokemon series which add like a small stat boost, sort of a small power boost to specific type of attacks. Kirby is basically holding, Ditto is basically holding all of those. So any type of attack it's using will automatically just be a bit stronger by that nature. It's carrying leftovers, so it will be constantly healing as well. It's carrying Life Orb, which basically it will take Ditto's health down a little bit, but it does amp its power up quite a bit. But obviously the healing kind of negates that detriment anyway. And it is actually able to hold, like as I said, because I know in gameplay of the main series, it can only carry one at a time. In this, it is able to carry multiple of these at once. In Pokopia, it can carry things like weakness policy, so it can get stat buffs of its attack and special attack if it is taking damage from something which that Pokemon it's turned into would be weak to from the Kirby attack. And yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot of different things that it could be holding.
Yeah, Pokemon items can do a whole lot, along with the moves. So I will admit that is rather powerful. But what if Kirby just took that? As even without being able to suck up, he has a copy ability called Copy, which allows him to do what he does with the suck remotely.
Okay. But then how would Kirby use that if... I mean, I guess if it's an ability, if we're doing it's inside him, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, Kirby would still be able to transform, but that wouldn't take away Ditto from having these.
Of course, it wouldn't take away the items, but it would give Kirby more options in a way, because he would have let's just call it the Ditto copy ability at his disposal, so to speak, which would be kind of fun to see play off each other. And granted, that only does so much for Kirby since he hasn't seen any other Pokemon, but it could be helpful in some degree.
Yeah, I think like just going back to like different abilities that of different Pokemon that can be there. Obviously, I've mentioned Flash Fire and Sturdy already. There's ones like Multiscale, where if you're at full HP, then you take less damage automatically. Ditto can easily turn into something else and use like Recover, for example, and then just switch into that to then be able to tank more damage. It carries leper berries as well, so PP is never going to be an issue in terms of running out of moves to use. It has like things like Poison Touch, and it gets a ability like Poison Touch, where obviously it could poison Kirby, or Flame Body and burn Kirby, Static, paralyze Kirby. Spike Rough Skin, Kirby will just take damage by nature of touching Ditto. There's just so much. Think of all the Pokemon there are and how many different abilities and moves there are, and having that all encompassed into one little tiny purple blob. Yeah, that's Ditto.
Given the fact that Kirby can copy a lot of those moves, I could argue that he has a resistance to some of them, namely Poison, to the point to where it wouldn't like tick him down like regular Poison seems to. Given the fact that he's able to take hits and not have that residual, from what I have observed.
Okay. I mean, so even if he does have resistances to stuff like that, there is actually one of the abilities is called Mycelium Might. Now, this is on Toedscool, which was a Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet. If Ditto was to turn into Toedscool, Mycelium Might would be active. And what Mycelium Might does is basically any status moves that were to be used, basically, I'm going to read this verbatim actually. But yeah, when using status moves, these moves will be unimpeded by the ability of the target, which basically means that it will always be able to affect whatever is being targeted. So like in terms of, there's Pokemon that have things like Insomnia or Soundproof, that basically Insomnia, you can't fall asleep. Soundproof, sound-based attacks do not work on you. With Mycelium Might active, you will be asleep even if you have Insomnia. Even if you have Soundproof, you will be affected by sound.
Okay, well, the thing with Kirby is that I feel like his resistances are more associated with his quote-unquote type than an ability, since his ability is the copy ability, if you wanted to interpret it that way. But in any case, with disabling abilities and such, it's very weird with like translating it from Pokemon to other series. So I can grant that, and that's pretty insane, I must admit.
As I said, like being John Pokemon is very crazy.
Yeah, but okay, are we good here with what you're talking about?
I mean, there's so many Pokemon moves and abilities that there's so many possibilities of what Ditto can do. I'm just bringing up like ones that I think would be quite vital in terms of like wearing Kirby down, or like taking like some of the things that Kirby might be resistant to into a play where Ditto could affect Kirby.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I suppose I can bring out the big guns. Well, at least one of them, which is Ghost Kirby. Now, before you say Ditto could transform into something that resists ghosts, Ghost Kirby works a little differently. As, unless if I am mistaken, he's also able to do his little possession thing on the ghost enemies. I could fact check that, but I see no reason that he couldn't. And it basically allows him to take control of an enemy for a period of time.
Okay.
Could hypothetically give him an advantage, at least for a little bit. Maybe have him throw away some items. Or something along those lines.
Okay, I mean, so one of the Pokemon that could be turned into is Malamar, and Malamar is stated to be having one of the most powerful hypnotic effects ever. That basically affects everything. In fact, something that I haven't mentioned yet is Ditto can actually transform into Mega Pokemon. We see this like in the game in the mainline series, where if the opponent had like if there is a Mega Pokemon, like Ditto can transform into that. And obviously, with the fact that we know Ditto can just transform into things anyway, like Ditto could transform into a Mega Pokemon, and Mega Malamar's hypnotic ability is even stronger than base Malamar. So Ditto could do a similar thing. There is also like effects like there's an ability called Magic Bounce or a move called Magic Coat, which basically things that would be like controlling or like impeding like status type things, Ditto can basically just bounce those back. Or it's obviously in this case wouldn't like return to Kirby, but basically it just means that they wouldn't really affect Ditto.
Yeah, I forgot about Magic Bounce. Yeah, that's quite a lot. I must fully admit, I didn't expect Ditto to be able to have access to everything. So I was not anticipating having to resist hypnosis. Like the only thing I could say is potentially resistance to the Janba Hearts and Star Allies, which seem to corrupt individuals.
Okay.
But that's about all I can think of off the top of my head, because I don't feel like mind control is a very prevalent thing in Kirby.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, kind of taking the jump from Mega Pokemon. So obviously this would also include legendary Pokemon, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
Oh dear.
Legend like Pokemon is stupid with how crazy it goes. Like,
Right.
I mean, I think both of these franchises are, to be honest. But Ditto could turn into Palkia or Dialga, and those are known for literally being able to create and maintain space and time. And before I have it be like, well, would it be able to do the same type of thing? So, if Ditto turns into Palkia and uses Spatial Rend, the description and effects of Spatial Rend are exactly the same as if Palkia used it. So can you just bring up Spatial Rend for me, please?
Sure, no problem.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read the description of the move, which is the user tears the foe along with the space around it. Which obviously, you know, if Palkia is using it, makes sense because Palkia is the entity which governs space.
Right.
But Ditto, if it turns into Palkia, also gets that same thing. Because Ditto, when it
Okay.
transforms into a Pokemon, I will give it this, not HP, but every other stat matches what it is turned into.
So he's a glass cannon, so to speak.
Well, glass cannon in the sense that its HP doesn't change, but if it turns into something bulky, like that is still relatively bulky. Do you know what I mean?
Right. HP is different from defense. I'm just saying, like, it can take hits, but not as many hits as someone with higher HP.
No, but that's where the moves that see with this GIF, you can see like Spatial Rend is literally tearing the space around Wobbuffet here.
I see.
And yeah, basically. Oh, wait, I forgot what I was saying. Wait, what was I saying? Oh no.
You're talking about Spatial Rend and how Ditto can become everything. This could apply to him.
Oh, so. Oh no. Oh no, what was I saying? Oh my god, I'm so sorry, everyone.
It was tearing
Oh,
space.
yeah. So this is where the moves that I brought up, like Endure, Endeavor, Heal Block, they're quite notable because, you know, Endeavor, if Ditto is on low HP, Kirby's suddenly on low HP. Heal Blocks means that Kirby can't heal from that. Can't like get his health back up. Whereas if Ditto turns into something with a recovery move, it can. And then also, because we are kind of like starting to veer into stat territory, there are multiple Pokemon moves that again can really manipulate this. So obviously self-boosting moves like Sword Stance, Nasty Plot, agility, stuff like that. There's Speed Split. No, sorry, not Speed Split. Speed Swap, which basically swaps the speed of you and your opponent. Now, one of the Pokemon that uses this is Rabsca, and Rabsca is incredibly slow. So if like Rabsca, it could use that on Kirby, swap their speed, and then Ditto can then just be faster by turning into something else. If if Kirby is faster, of course. There's also moves like Power Swap, which kind of does the same with attacking stats. There's also Power Split and Guard Split, which basically equalize. It takes both entities' stats of attack and defensives and makes them equal so that they're exactly the same.
I wasn't expecting stat equalization or lowering as well. That is rather dangerous. But could he hit Kirby?
Well, there's moves there's abilities and moves which guarantee hits. There's No Guard as an ability. There is, though I will say I don't think Rabsca gets No Guard because that is one of the things I will admit is that Ditto needs to be transformed into a said Pokemon in order to obviously use those attributes. It can't like use the ones of others. There is some arguments from the TCG and some official Ken Sugimori art that Ditto could potentially be multiple Pokemon at once, but it's not enough for me to be able to be like, I think that's a bit too like drawing on strings, to be honest with you, as opposed to like this is canon, like we know this for certain. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, because I was going to say, I have Mirror, so this could just nullify that by sending it right back at you.
But if it's a equalization, that would just still equalize.
But it would send the thing back because it's an attack, right?
What like speed like speed swap or guard split or attack split? You mean?
Right. So then it would just do nothing because you can't like split
Well, if
or swap.
if it bounced back, it would still affect you, wouldn't it?
Why?
Because it affects both parties.
But if it's an attack and I reflect it, then why would it affect me?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Is if you can make it so that the one side hits Ditto, but the other side doesn't hit Kirby. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Fair. But as I said, there are moves like Magic Eye or Milk Eye, I think it is, where basically it will guarantee the hit. And we've seen examples of this in the anime where basically moves will ricochet. Like even if the Pokemon dodges it or like does something, the move will like ricochet and follow it around until it lands its mark.
Has it ever gone into space to do that?
I mean, if the Pokemon was in space, it would be able to.
Okay, I guess we'll get into that when we get to speed more so, because I'd argue that it's very possible that Kirby could get out of the way of it, even if it's quote unquote a sure hit in the Pokemon world.
Mhm.
Because obviously, like with that sort of a thing, if an opponent is like massively faster than it, then it wouldn't matter if it's a sure hit for every other Pokemon.
Mhm.
But we can get into that.
Okay. Okay.
Also, we'll get rid of Wobbuffet.
Poor Wobbuffet, just taking so much damage.
Yeah. Also, on the topic of space, I was gonna keep this as notes for myself. Also, I gotta make sure that WebP works here. But welcome to Miiverse. And here we have a statement regarding Mary Magoland from the Kirby's Return to Dreamland remake, which states that another dimension's road, a space of which Kirby can access ultra casually. Not it states that it challenges the continuity of time and it transcends time and space. So if I'm understanding this correctly, that space splitting wouldn't matter because Kirby can just go above it. Or has been above it.
Okay. I mean, if we want to get into cosmology, we can get into cosmology. Can you pull up Cosmology 1?
Sure thing, buddy. Here we are. Yeah, images will load significantly faster.
Okay. So here we have a diagram of the, not diagram, like here we have basically a depiction of the Pokemon universe. So we have the bit in the middle, which is the main universe. And then we have the three orbs, which are basically the different dimensions that are basically one for Palkia, one for Dialga, and then one for Giratina, because they all reside within their own dimension. Now, because Palkia governs all of space, not just space of its own universe, all of space. So it covers all. It would be It would be handling all four of these at one time. And then, if we want to go a bit further with that, can you bring up Cosmology 2?
Sure. There it is.
Okay, so this is Reflection Cave, where basically all these like crystals and like reflective mirrored surfaces are basically like portals into other universes. Like it's basically, it has been stated that they are alternate worlds, basically with, they have their own stars and skies and all that stuff. So it is like a universe within each of these worlds. Now, beyond this, I don't have a picture of this, but I don't think we need it. Beyond this, there is ultra space. Now, basically, ultra space is how to put it? It's like a dimension that holds all of these alternate dimensions within it. And we know that there are both Pokemon and Ultra Beasts that can affect this dimension. Like Necrozma was able to, I believe, light up the dimension or affect it in some way. But essentially, what I'm getting to is that the Pokemon Cosmology has arguments for high multi-dimensional, multiversal stuff, as well as higher dimensions within that. Especially because within the mirrored worlds, there are basically, the way it works is whenever a decision is made, an alternate reality, an alternate universe comes from both choices. There's a Doctor Who episode about it, about like Turn Left, I think it's called, or Turn Right, that kind of goes into
Turn
that
Left.
type of thing as well,
Too late.
where basically, you know, every decision, there is an alternate reality where that other decision had happened. And like, there's an infinite amount of different possibilities that could have occurred. And that's all housed within the Ultra space. And as mentioned, there are Pokemon like Necrozma and the Ultra Beasts that are able to affect it, and Ditto is able to transform into them.
I see. Okay. Yeah, certainly wasn't expecting multiversal immediately. But you know, it's not like I wasn't. Okay, so
I told you, Ditto is crazy.
yes. So the complicated thing with Kirby is that the way that his cosmology works is that it doesn't have like statements of infinite this, infinite that. Like there's statements for Kirby himself having infinite power in comparison to those around him, such as Magalore. Like he has repeatedly stated, even following Kirby's return to Dreamland, to have infinite power. Obviously that could just mean very vast. But given the fact that that descriptor is used for him, even following his confrontation with Magalore just gives credence to the idea that he is above him. And Magalore, importantly, don't have a scan for it, but within his defeat at the end of Return to Dreamland, along with its remake, because they're the same story just being told at different times, he, during his defeat, had collapsed another dimension, which is the name of the realm, which at bare minimum contains 15 separate universes for each of the different spaces in which the Sphere Doomers exist. Now, obviously, that's nothing impressive. That's 50 universes. That's not anywhere near the infinite multiverse that you are talking about.
To be fair, I'm not saying that the Pokemon universe is infinite. I was using more infinite in like sense of there's so many. I would go closer to it like high multi with that, to be clear.
Right, and mine would get to low multi. However, the issue with that becomes the statements of transcending space and time, which I have another one to show some consistency in regards to the lore Starcutter. This is from another Miiverse post in regards to. Okay, so two ships that soar the heavens, Rust, lore, meet across time and space. It becomes such a mysterious scene, doesn't it? Being vehicles that transcend time and space, someday two ships from different eras will meet. That will be incredible. Basically implying that the lore Starcutter, much like Another Dimension, Another Dimension's Road, itself is beyond the space and time and is able to just kind of, at the very least, freely move about both with no regard. The issue becomes, I could only make the argument that this is a higher dimensional being who would be able to also access the higher dimensional space of Another Dimension's Road, which is where the little star portals show up that can allow things across space and time to go through them, which is how Galactonite was summoned for the Meta Knight fight during Planet Robobot. So you could argue that there's layers to dimensionality through the lore Starcutter being able to be in another dimension while fighting Kirby and Landia, who Kirby reasonably should scale to. He just wasn't able to fly about during Return to Dreamland because he was, in the middle of fighting and couldn't get his typical interstellar affair in order, like his little spaceship in Superstar.
Mhm.
But this does give credence to the idea that Kirby is beyond these concepts, and you could argue for whatever that means. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think it's decently high. So I could concede to like a tie in that regard, maybe, possibly. And this could also be potential, irrelevant speed since he can keep up with things that just go across space and time.
Hmm.
Just through sailing. But that's neither here nor there. We can get the speed if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, we can get to speed. Do you want to go first?
Sure, let's go with a little low end. Well, low end in quotation marks, of course. Here, hold on. Let me go grab this guy. I labeled this one Feel the Aura, because this is also an AP thing. This is Galactic Nova. He is a big clock-like creature that grants wishes. And he is moving towards Popstar. At the speed at which he is moving, his kinetic energy alone is I believe, small planetary. Let me double check my notes. Yep, small. Oh, no. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I apologize. Large planetary. Him just moving. And it's calculated that he's moving at about 0.2% the speed of light. Not bad. Not bad. Large planetary, speed of light. Pretty good. However, here we have the meteor that Kirby redirects and sends it flying 99 light years away.
Oh.
He does this and I was being extremely lowbally with this, not even accounting for the times that it slowed down when it was going through moons and planets. At bare minimum, given that it took 23 seconds for it to go from where it was, like when it started flying, to here, it took about 23 seconds, which comes out to 13.7 billion times the speed of light.
That's fast.
And
It's very
then,
fast.
as far as the higher end for calculable speed, we have, I guess, my beloved. You get to see the phone again. Because in this scene, Kirby calls forth the warp star from Planet Popstar.
Hmm.
And it took a relatively short amount of time for it to get to where they were. And given prior calculations regarding how far away planets are within the Kirby universe, or galaxy, or whatever you want to call it, it would have had to travel a minimum of 800,000 light years in around 3 seconds. Given that, it is calculated to have been going around, let me just make sure that I'm reading this number right. Apologies. 1,000, million, billion. About 83 trillion times the speed of light.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. And that is about the high end for the calculable stuff. Again, there is the statements of Kirby being able to access spaces that are beyond space and time, which could give him irrelevant to whatever the other speed is, basically meaning he could keep up with things that freely move about time through speed alone.
Okay. So there is a moment where Arceus sends out. I think it's in one of the films, or it might actually be in basically in the anime. This happens, but Arceus sends out shockwaves from its own space because Arceus has its own like dimension that it resides in, separate to everything within Pokemon. Will also say like I do not think that Ditto could turn into true form Arceus because I think that you could give it the avatar of Arceus because we've seen it do that, but not the true Arceus behind it. So I wouldn't give it that. I just want to throw it out there quickly, just because in case anyone had questions regarding that. Now that I'm bringing Arceus up, basically the shockwaves were targeting the creation trio, and they were successfully able to intercept this. Now this was calced with it having to travel from its own dimension to the main universe to be 4.1 quintillion times faster than light. And there are higher calculations as well, which is regarding Arceus being able to move the dimensions of Dialga and Palkia together, which I believe that was 404.1 quadrillion times faster than light.
That would make sense.
But then, if we were to go with like the high ends that you're trying to argue for with Kirby, have you heard of a move called Trick Room?
Oh no. Wait. Counter argument. Things that move fast enough can break out of Trick Room. Unless that's a game mechanic thing. Because like if you speed up enough, then Trick Room just breaks.
That is a game mechanic thing, I'm afraid. But yeah, because so if something is moving, but if this is obviously if we were to accept the high ends that you're proposing with that. But yeah, Ditto. I keep saying Kirby. I'm so sorry. Ditto has Trick Room available to it, and something which is moving as incredibly fast as you're trying to say would be basically stuck in time. And also something stuck in time. As I said, it could turn into Dialga, who controls time. It could literally just do a time stop.
Kirby can time stop too. There's nothing stopping him from doing that. He has several options for that.
Okay.
Although notably, there's one that allows him to attack while doing it, which I believe is called Time Crack.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, okay. The thing about Trick Room is it seems to affect moving in the RPG sense. Like it makes it to where Pokemon that would move first don't. So it's not like Kirby couldn't get out of the way or something.
So
Unless it's
in the
explained
anime,
exactly. Okay.
yeah, in the anime, it is explicitly shown that slower Pokemon suddenly are blitzing, and faster Pokemon are a lot slower.
Okay.
So
Has it
it's
affect?
essentially a sport. It's essentially a box which distorts the space and time within that to swap those speeds of it to basically make it like inversing their speed, if that makes sense.
Outside of gameplay, does it affect the creation trio?
Yes. Oh well, in the anime, it hasn't ever been shown to be used on them in the anime or the manga, but within the games, it does affect them the same as it does anything else.
So it's a thing that affects the space-time that is able to affect the things that control space and time.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they can't change it, but they can still be affected by it. They could probably still. They could easily just be like, well,
Well, Kirby isn't.
no.
Kirby, according to the things I've brought up, isn't bound by that at all. Is it? is above space and time.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned, Ditto can also turn into things which are in a higher dimension as well.
Right. But would the thing that has what Pokemon on a higher dimensional tier have Trick Room?
Palkia,
Palkia has Trick Room?
yes, it does.
Oh, well, that's scary.
Something else I want to mention, as we are talking obviously more about, we are speaking a lot of the creation trio. Dialga in the anime has shown to be able to revert Pokemon, like devolve them into eggs. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that it would turn Kirby into an egg, of course, but it could essentially just take it, like revert it to any ability that it was using, just revert it so it doesn't have it.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So, say if
I,
Kirby is using like an, oh,
I've got a question that I think is gonna impact my like opinion a lot. How smart is like the average Ditto? is it
well, consider.
is it intelligent enough to pull off like all of these counters and stuff?
Well, thanks to Pokopia, yes, because Pokopia, like Ditto, basically reestablishes society.
But
I that's not really combat sense though. Like
No, but it
reestablishing
shows
a
a level of
society.
intelligence. Do you know what I
Sure,
mean? Like,
sure. I'm
like
not.
it's able to. Oh, sorry, gone. Sorry,
I
sorry.
say I'm not saying that it's like stupid or anything. I'm just wondering like if it's going to be able to like, oh, it's going to use this ability, so it's going to switch to this thing and this thing, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. I would say that obviously the Pokopia is obviously not a combat game, but it does showcase a level of intelligence where it's able to, you know, construct buildings, have understanding of electronics, and rebuild a society. As I said, rebuild a society. And uh, I would also argue that like because of that, a Ditto would be smarter than Kirby.
Kirby is able to use basic tools and build things and such. Or at least it's on par with beings that are able to do that sort of thing like Waddle Dees. Like he's far from stupid, and especially in combat, he is very, very scarcely matched. Again, he's
Okay.
able to fight people who can fight beings who were literally locked away from time and space. Specifically, Galactonite again.
Mhm.
He was literally locked away for how much of a threat he
Oh,
is. And
also, I feel like Kirby has like a lot more combat experience. No,
absolutely. And if not more combat experience, then at the very least has faced people with more combat experience.
yeah.
Okay, I know. I definitely would give combat experience to Kirby. I'm not going to argue against that. um,
Ditto use math.
Also, like, how quickly can Dittos like, I guess, transform into things?
so I mean, given the speeds that we were going through earlier, like it would make sense that it would be able to do that somewhere along that level.
Right. Okay.
Um, I would say as well that obviously with Ditto, with the stuff I showed earlier, like it was able to do them in very quick succession within each other, like switching between them. Now, from my understanding with Kirby, it isn't able to just he isn't able to just switch between them as frequently
He
and as
is.
quickly.
He is. Milky Way wishes he could switch through them as quickly as he wants.
Okay,
Like he could
okay, no
literally
worries.
switch through them like in between each other, like subsequently. Like if he
Mhm.
needed a
I was
copy
like,
ability, he could quote unquote have the time to pick it.
okay, so yeah, they're kind of similar in that sense then. Okay. I do have another argument, but I kind of want to save that as my final argument.
Okay.
uh,
You know what? I'm gonna bring this up because I said a thing and I know I didn't expand on it. So we're gonna bring up energy redirection. Or I guess attack redirection, if you want to be specific. With a very special ability. Known as soon as it loads for y'all, Hypernova.
Mm-hmm.
This wonderful ability allows Kirby to suck up things that he wasn't able to before, including things that are massively larger than it, like eels, the size of the Mario ones. In fact, longer than the Mario ones. If you know, you know. And with this, he was able to absorb it, and it will probably be loading for y'all. And come on, load these. Shoot it right back. And now you could ask yourself, what happens if Kirby sucks up something that would negatively affect him? Or something along those lines? Funny you should ask. Because he's able to take all of this, which you'll see in a moment, so I apologize. All of this, which had several enemies on it, it was a big old tank thing. And you see that little golden door there? As soon as the image loads, you shall see that he...
I mean, I can guess from the name what's going to be.
he is able to specifically spit out the golden door. So he can choose what he ejects.
Mm-hmm.
Then, to go along with that, in case if there's any doubt of Kirby being able to interact with spirits, because ghost types, here you'll see it in a moment. He is able to suck up spirits. I don't know why these PNGs are taking so long to load.
No, neither do I.
But anyways, yeah, he's able to suck up this ghost, which was initially starting in a painting, Luigi's Mansion style, and possessed a variety of objects, including a piano.
Okay.
And I think that's about it. I could bring up, splitting Popstar, but that obviously doesn't matter anymore. We have gone well beyond the planet. We are dealing with the things well beyond quote-unquote human understanding.
Yeah, as I said, these are two small, squishy eldritch abominations.
Squishy Eldritch Abomination is right. Alright. I think that about covers what I needed to.
I mean, I have the final argument, if you're okay for me to go into that.
Sure, I'll let you take final arguments, because I have an image for mine.
Okay. So, it's going to sound crazy, but Ditto can turn into Pokemon from Ultra Space. So Pokemon, so basically like beings that are obviously beyond the main universe within Pokemon. So I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that Ditto could just turn into Kirby as well.
But on the same token, Kirby could do the same thing with either sucking up Ditto and spitting him back out, Smash Brothers style, or just his copy ability. Which granted does
I don't
less for Kirby than it does for Ditto, but I digress.
I don't know if Kirby would turn into a Ditto.
Well, not
I mean, I guess it would get to be,
but it would give him the Ditto stuff.
I think that would hinder Kirby though, because Kirby wouldn't have the knowledge of what Pokemon are or what Pokemon do
He could
and all
turn
that
into
stuff.
his friends.
Okay, anyway, the point I was making is it's very impressive everything that's been brought up for Kirby. I'm obviously I'm agreeing with you with that. Like it is really impressive. Um, but yeah, Ditto. I think it's you can argue that Ditto can also turn into Kirby because of where it can turn into Ultra Beast, and because basically it would gain access to everything that has you have mentioned yourself, and then uh, so there is an item that is called Quick Claw, which is one of the lost relics within Pokopia.
This is the chance based to go first, isn't it?
It is chance based, but when they are on equal footing, and as I said, like Kirby can, sorry, Ditto has the ability to get Kirby onto low health and keep him there while while Ditto itself is able to recover. So if they're on equal footing, except for their health, because of that factor, I think there is a like Ditto would have the ability, the time to proc that and get the final kill.
Okay. You know, I will say becoming Kirby was an option I thought of, and that is a rather funny option, I suppose. Although I feel like that's also kind of the one of them has more than likely a lot more quote unquote HP than the other. So it would be a battle of attrition more than anything, along with the items. Which, I feel like hypernovaing Ditto might at least knock a few of them off. Unless if he has something that would prevent him from losing the items. That isn't just transforming into someone with sticky foot. Because then they would just get sucked into the void.
Yeah. No, I will say like no, he would need to specifically have sticky hold. When they would have to be transformed into a Pokemon with sticky hold.
Oh yeah, also Kirby can hold items in his stomach, so it's very possible if he ejected Ditto after that, he could take the items directly through that method? Maybe. I'm
True,
not going to
I would.
argue that, but it could be a possibility. However, I think it's time for my final argument. And it's not one I was expecting to find.
Oh.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. This is Hypernova. You notice that health bar down there? That UI element? Well,
Mm.
Kirby can... Come on. Can be able to
Ah.
suck up the health bar. Now, if he can suck up the health bar, which is the only thing that matters in a Kirby game, what stops him from sucking up the other UI elements?
Okay, fair enough.
Mm.
Like, obviously, this is more of a for fun argument than anything, but
Yeah.
could you imagine just sucking up the battle menu?
Like the YouTube menu.
Yeah, that would be... Oh, he sucks up the play bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my final argument.
Do you have like an actual final argument, or is it just?
I've covered the big stuff when it comes to Kirby. There's nothing directly stating like infinite multiverse, like
Mhm.
choices lead to this and that. There's only the transcending space of another dimension's road, along with the Lore Star Cutter, which also does that, but can also access another dimension's road, which could imply another layer on top of that. Additionally, with Kirby's vast array of copy abilities that he has access to at any time, which allow him to do a variety of things, to include stopping time, possession, control of the elements and such.
Yeah, I guess if we're doing actual final arguments, I'll just say I think Ditto is a hacks machine, has insane versatility, and as I said, he has the ability to equalize stats, if not reverse them, and even if and would have the ability to also do what Kirby does through transforming into Kirby.
Do you have any actual final arguments for Kirby?
That's about it. His most versatile stuff is his copy abilities, and his copy abilities are, you know, reflecting stuff, possession. I've covered them already. Redirecting attacks is going to be his main counter to what Ditto can dish out, and even then, there's very few arguments for him being able to steal the items besides literally just becoming the black hole that he is and just sucking them up. And also he has way more combat experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just realized I'm going to have to put up a...
I can do that for you if you want me to.
That would be very helpful because I was going to say I couldn't get the...
I got it.
I couldn't switch my account on my phone for some reason, even though I'm like an editor and stuff for the channel. So I would have put it up if my phone would let me, which is how I'm seeing the chat, which I have only occasionally glanced at, so I apologize.
I should be capable of doing that, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if need be, I would just switch tabs real quick. We'd be frozen for a little bit, and then I'd just throw up the poll and come back.
Yeah, I mean, while I'm doing that, I guess, Comet, do you want to give your verdict?
Yeah, sure. I did not realize that Ditto had gotten that many buffs just from the new game.
There we go, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm making it.
It's a very back and forth. They both kind of have everything. I feel Pokemon has a more reliable, like, Ditto can reliably get to the higher cosmology stuff, like, easier, like, again and again. Which is, I guess, better if they're just bouncing each other's stuff back at each other a lot. So I'd have to, I guess, go for Ditto. Although I do quite like the idea of Kirby, like, if it was an episode, Kirby sucking up the like and subscribe button. So they get to the end, like, don't forget to like, and oh, wait.
All right.
But yeah, Ditto.
Yeah, wow, closer than I thought. I've bounced back and forth. I think it comes down to minute details here, right?
Yeah.
Very little differences between the two of them. It's weird because I don't know how much I buy of the speed for both characters given. Especially on the higher end of like Ditto stuff. Like, I believe that the higher end speed stuff for Pokemon definitely does exist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that applies to Ditto. And I feel like Kirby having the battlefield advantage would be better overall, even if Ditto is more intelligent. Being able to apply that in direct combat is, you know, something different entirely. I will vote Kirby. I was literally going to vote Ditto 10 minutes ago, but I switched. So this has been going back and forth the entire time. So this is really close.
That is very valid. This is a lot closer than I would have thought.
And
that makes me feel like I've done my job properly.
with 71% of the votes. Ditto has taken it home.
Dang.
Kino is
Nice.
our winner.
Well done, man. Well done.
Well, no, well done. You made me work for that.
Yeah, you made me work for my vote too.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was
Oh, that's that?
insane.
Yeah.
There's only 7 votes. How does that split work?
71-29.
Well, yeah, but I
So-
meant like number of votes because I can't
Oh.
see that.
I think 5-2.
Okay, I got 2
Oh.
people on my side. I'll take
Mhm.
it.
I mean 3, including me.
Yay! Oh yeah, I meant like from
Yeah.
the majority vote populace that went up. But hey,
I guess the last thing to say is we have another cast coming up. So on my PC's being weird. Can you all hear me?
yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's strange, but whatever. On Sunday the 12th, so end of this week, you will join me and Sherm, hopefully, for Dr. Herbert West versus Edward Richtofen from
Oh,
Call of
boy.
Duty Zombies. It's going to